So as I sit prepping a Christmas one-shot for this Friday, oh, by the way, that's what we're doing instead of Doomsday Dawn, because 'tis the season, I find in this Pathfinder playtest that one of the most iconic sets of monsters in all of the role-playing hobby has undergone a pretty solid facelift. No longer just various colors with various elements and perhaps different spells and EXs and SUs. Now the dragons of Pathfinder all play differently, they have different reactions, and target other people's weaknesses rather than just, throwing it at the guys who can't dodge the incoming salvo of lightning or acid or what have you. Let's talk about it. Remember guys, if you're liking what you're seeing, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button today. This episode of your Pathfinder playtest preview content, as we ever patiently await Update 1.7, was brought to you in part by DM Glorindil. Thanks for your help, my friend. Now, here be dragons. Okay, so if you've been with the hobby for a while, you'll know. Crack open a bestiary, flip to the dragon section, and here's a billion different tables about how to age your dragon and the things it gets, etc, etc, etc. And that's truly why I've never really used dragons as monsters or as encounters or anything like that in any of my campaigns. More often they end up being some kind of NPC, especially if the all-too-common draconic heritage is present in the campaign, to say nothing of the fact that the elf dragon disciple for who my YouTube channel is named often has to deal with his black dragon father, who would sooner put his enemies in a dank, swampy pool, python them down, wait for them to rot and eat them. Come on, Dad! Get with the times! But as of the playtest, things are looking a lot different and, frankly, a lot better. No longer is the dragon just a different colored thing that has a different element on its breath weapon, and again, maybe the ability to, swim in lava, or, walk on ice as per spider climb. Though, of course, these still exist. Now, mechanically, they all function a little differently. First and foremost, all of the dragons that we see, and right now we're only seeing the chromatics, no metallics, no imperials, no outers, just the old standbys and staples, have different reactions. If you're within reach of a black dragon's tail, which is 20 feet if you're fighting that level 16 ancient black dragon, and you take an action to strike or attempt a skill check, so this is a wonderful counter to the bards as they're rolling perform checks to see if they pass the DCs for their cantrips. The dragon makes a strike at the creature with a -2. If it hits, the creature takes a -2 circumstance penalty on the triggering roll. Yeah, we have a -2 to hit, sure, that's fair. But there's gonna be a lot of things, because, dragons are often the boss monsters when they're used. I feel like oftentimes you'll be much stronger than the things you're fighting. When you connect, the thing swinging at you takes a -2, which could be the difference between a critical hit on the boss and just a regular hit, to say nothing of a hit or a miss. Blue dragons, now, when they're targeted with an attack, they raise their wings, which slaps a +2 circumstance bonus to their AC against the triggering attack. If the dragon's flying, it descends 10 feet afterwards, but the blue dragon has a shield. Now, is that as good as having something that has just a flat DR? No. No, it is not. That +2, though, again, could be the difference between a hit and a critical, or a hit and a miss, which could keep your boss monster alive that much longer, and it's similar to what the black dragon does, yet it is very distinct. In addition to having its own drawback, the flavor text is clearly different. I'm not doing damage as a blue dragon, but I am as a black dragon. But, my scales are iron and all that other smog drivel. Anyway, moving on. The green dragon, the dragon honestly today I have the most to talk about, has the reaction Twisting Tail. When you're within reach of that dragon's tail, and the ancient green dragon actually is swinging out to 25 feet with that tail, uses a move action or leaves a square during a move action it's using, which is worded kind of weird. I guess that's to say strides or steps. The dragon makes a tail strike at the creature with a -2 penalty. If it hits, the dragon disrupts the creature's action. No step, no stride, that's standstill. That's the feat standstill on the green dragon. Do I like that one as much? Not necessarily, especially because, there's no move action that probably should have said strides. One has to wonder if that's not a typo or just something that could be worded a little better. Or something like leaves a square during an action it's using, so like sudden charge. That stops sudden charge. That's kind of hilarious. The fighter goes a charge and the dragon holds up its tail as if to say, "Stop!" And, well, you do. Also, here's 48 plus 16 bludgeoning damage. Sorry about it. The red dragon, most iconic of them all, has what could be said is the most boring of the reactions, Opportune Bite, which is attack of opportunity but only with the dragon's jaws. Up until it becomes ancient and gets the reaction Redirect Fire. A creature within 100 feet casts a fire spell or fire spell otherwise comes into effect from a source within 100 feet. The dragon makes all the choices to determine the target's destination or other effects of the spell as though it were the caster. Now, I can't necessarily say that's good, given the fact that the red dragon is immune to fire. Though a lot of dragons have changed, and some of them do in fact have weaknesses, it's the red dragon and the white dragon who seem to have it the worst off. The white dragon, of course, is weak to fire, the red dragon weak to cold. Should these two happen to pair up, and someone tries to fireball at the white dragon, the red dragon can stop it. Or, you know, if you want to play a GMPC who's a red dragon and you really just need that fireball to go over here instead of over there, you've got this. You are under control. The GMPC moves the encounter forward and you're good at this. Yeah, keep telling yourself that. Anywho, the white dragon, last but not least, lacks a reaction. He's reaction lacking, but has a free action called Freezing Blood. When an adjacent creature deals piercing or slashing damage to the dragon's blood sprays on the creature. A young white dragon will do 1d6 cold damage, and if the cold damage resolves, the creature is slowed for a round. An ancient white dragon pops it up to 3d6 and maintains the slowed condition, which honestly I think makes the white dragon possibly the most powerful of them, despite the fact that the level disparity is of course a thing, because versus a lot of marshals, that's just so good, short of everyone having a great club ready for this situation, and in the playtest, you might. They're a little more playable than they have been, certainly, but dudes with scimitars and falchions and greatswords casting them, oh my, that's a free action. That's every time the damage resolves, you get slowed 1. The slowed condition, of course, says you spend fewer actions. Slowed always includes a value. When you regain your actions at the start of your turn, reduce them by 1. In the case of the slowed one, you can't ready an action, and if you become slowed during your turn, it doesn't kick till your next. Now, one thing I'm a little confused on as I flip through my rulebook is I'm not entirely sure if this would stack, but if it does, literally that's just the most powerful thing we've seen, because if 3 hits do connect, and then you get slowed 1 3 times, if that ticks up to slowed 3, that means the opponent loses a turn, which lets the white dragon just tear into its opponents. And that brings me to our next point. The dragons have gained a pair of new abilities across all of them, which are just really, really good. First up, Draconic Frenzy. For 2 actions, the dragon makes 2 claw strikes and 1 wing strike in any order. In some cases, it's a tail strike. In some cases, it's a horn strike. Basically, it's 3 attacks for 2. You assume these count up towards the total multiple attack penalty, but then you still have that 1 more action left if you need to attack again, or, you know, use your amazingly powerful fly speed to just get out of there. And there's no like once per minute thing on a cooldown time. You can just pop this. The power of that cannot be understated, again, especially with the white dragon, because you get the whole squad slowed to nothing and then you frenzy at people and then use that last action to fly away and set up again, especially if you need another round for your breath weapon. It's just, from a tactical standpoint, really, really good. Oh, by the way, Draconic Momentum. That says when the dragon scores a critical hit with a strike, the breath weapon recharges. All the dragons have this. That is just absolutely gnarly. Now, combats for me tend to go somewhere in the neighborhood of 5 to 6 rounds. It depends on the party. We talked about this a little more when we talked about our barbarian optimization video to see what Rage did. Oh, by the way, if you like my 2 cents on that, follow this card right up here. But that number can, of course, vary oftentimes towards the shorter. For example, the red dragon in Mirrored Moon died really fast to the monk who I, for his birthday, gave some frost powers to, not realizing the red dragon was vulnerable. Oops, sorry, not sorry. And the first move, oftentimes for dragons, is to pop that breath weapon when the party is all nice and scrunched up with their friends who are gonna be burnt and crispy now. But if you roll a 4 on that d4, it may not come up again, but then, you crit somebody with a strike and the breath weapon recharges. A strike and a breath weapon are no longer, of course, standard actions, present day. It's just a numerical value, so if the first strike in a given turn crits, that means your breath weapon can go off again. Fortune favors the dragon, especially if the dragon is fighting a lot of things that are just much smaller than it is. The notion of a draconic frenzy as something descends from the sky upon this village and of course is swinging 10 over the armor class of everything, because no one has an armor class. Breath weapon recharges every 6 seconds, a gout of fire burns, everything to cinders. But if that's not for you, in the olden days, all dragons were spellcasters, of course, and the dragons still have various sorts of abilities that will mess with the elements or feel vaguely magical, in addition to innate spells. The white dragon, for example, can cast Fog Cloud and Gust of Wind as an innate arcane spell, but that's it. That's all we got. Until you become an ancient white dragon, and then there's a 6th level wall of ice. Now we have new rules, almost like a template, to give our dragons spells by taking off Draconic Frenzy and Draconic Might, and maybe increasing the dragon's injured charge just a little bit, depending on what you would like your dragon to cast off of. Usually, your Cha, because Draconic Sorcerers super awesome. I may be biased. But for example, an ancient red dragon has DC 38 spells, Discern Location, Mind Blank, Prismatic Wall, Reverse Gravity, Haste, super good, and just a slew of other tools in the toolbox. But it's modal now. It's only there if you want that extra, thing to track in combat, and it will cost us 2 powerful abilities, which kind of makes almost like races within the dragons, like the martial dragons and the caster dragons. Wasn't expecting that one when I started building this Christmas one-shot. But alright, yeah, sure, I'll take it. And you know what else I'll take? One final point I want to make tonight. Well, you're watching this morning. I don't know what time it is for you. For me, it's tonight, but the green dragon. And we've talked about this before, but it bears repeating for those of us who may have missed it. In the Pathfinder playtest, has a breath weapon that now targets the fortitude save of the things caught in the noxious gas cloud, as opposed to formerly reflex. All of the other dragons are swinging at your reflex save, and some have other things they do with their breath weapon. Targeting the fortitude save means that, now, of course, this is a proficiency-based system, so everyone's numbers will be kind of the same, but I'm willing to bet the rogue, possibly the monk, it depends how you built him, possibly the ranger, again, kinda depends, will have a worse con than Dex. The green dragon is almost sideboard tech against high dexterity parties when you gotta have a dragon in your lore. Honestly, this is something I've taken back into Legacy Pathfinder and Beyond games, and I'm kinda wishing the white dragon would have done something similar, just freeze the air around. Suddenly it's cold, you need to make a fort save so your blood doesn't freeze, as opposed to just dodging all the time. Also, this makes a really great precedent for the dragons of the future. What if one of the esoteric dragons, when they come back, has a breath weapon that targets your will save, or you take a bunch of some kind of mental damage and then maybe you're confused on a critical failure, something like that? What if a breath weapon, say like the Imperial Forest Dragon, whose breath weapon is just Razor Leaf, what if it targets the AC? What if it requires an attack roll and can crit? Yes, right now we've just seen one dragon change stuff around, but that dragon has set a very powerful precedent in terms, again, of sideboarding against certain parties, and in terms, frankly, of flavor. It never really made sense to me that the noxious gas cloud was something you backflipped out of the way of, so much as, like, it's in the air now and hold your breath. Super good. I'm in love. But what do you guys think of the dragons of the Pathfinder playtest? Have we used them? Are we liking them? Anyway, like I said, this Friday, our Doomsday Dawn crew will be holding our annual Christmas one-shot. It'll be on Twitch this coming Friday from 7 to 10 p.m. Central Time. No Krampus this time because he doesn't have stats like he does in 1E, but it's sure to be just a blast. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you then.